My name is Kate Tice, and I'm the Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX. And joining me today from NASA Communications is Leah Cheshire.
Thanks, Kate. It's always great to be here, and of course, another exciting day bringing a crew back from the International Space Station. So upon departing the station, Dragon underwent a sequence of departure burns. Since then, the crew had a rest period and has since kicked off preparations for re-entry. Things are sounding pretty good so far. So in this next phase of the mission is when things really ramp up and happen pretty quickly. Dragon has a series of steps to complete before returning Crew-5 back to Earth.
First, Dragon will maneuver to the correct attitude and jettison its trunk, which is the cylindrical, unpressurized part of the spacecraft. The trunk is currently connected to the aft or the bottom section of the Dragon capsule, where the heat shield is located. So in order to expose that heat shield and get the vehicle ready for atmospheric re-entry, we'll jettison that trunk. So at this point in time, like we mentioned, we are coming up to the separation of the claw, which is the mechanism that holds that trunk, that unpressurized section of the Dragon capsule onto the pressurized section. So we're about a minute away from that claw separation, and then trunk separation will occur in about a minute and a half. So yeah, that trunk, like we said before, is the unpressurized section. That's where we can store cargo that is able to be exposed to the vacuum of space. And of course, the astronauts are in the pressurized section. But that heat shield is located at the bottom of the pressurized section. So it's currently being covered up by that trunk. So we'll separate the trunk to expose that heat shield.
So with that trunk separation, telemetry is looking good. The nitrox system is primed for cabin and suit cooling, and the heat shield is now exposed. The trunk is no longer needed. That is setting us up for our deorbit burn here coming up, scheduled to start at 5:11 p.m. Pacific time. Again, we anticipate that will last about 11 minutes.
Yeah, that burn is an important one. That is what commits the crew to that location. Like we said, we're setting up for a landing off the coast of Tampa, Florida. And it's that deorbit burn that is the final burn that Dragon performs to really re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Now, up next, we have the final steps that Dragon will perform prior to re-entry, the slew or maneuver to deorbit burn attitude and the deorbit burn itself. Leah, you did indicate that that attitude was correct and that we're gonna start that deorbit burn soon. That will be the last time that the forward Dracos, which are the four thrusters located on top of the vehicle near the nose cone, it's the last time that those will ignite. The deorbit burn will place Dragon on a precise trajectory to return to the splashdown zone off the coast of Florida. And like Leah said, it'll last about 11 minutes once it begins.
Within just the last 10 minutes, Dragon jettisoned its trunk. It initiated that deorbit burn about 2 minutes ago now. So for these operations, NASA and SpaceX closely coordinate with the United States Coast Guard and have established a safety zone to ensure public safety, safety of those involved and in the recovery operations, as well as, of course, our crew on board the returning spacecraft. So multiple notices are issued to the mariners in advance and during recovery operations. And Coast Guard patrol boats are deployed to discourage boaters from entering the splashdown zones. So we want to take a moment to stress to the public the need to respect this safety zone. Recovering a spacecraft from the water is a hazardous operation, and so any other boats interfering in this process can increase risk to the astronauts in the capsule, those teams working to recover them from the water, and of course even the safety of any public boaters. So for the safety of the crew and yours, we recommend tuning in here. Just sit back and watch. We're going to give you the best views of our astronauts on their way home.
Deorbit burn complete. Performance nominal. Nose cone closure initiated.
Dragon copy.
Just what we wanted to hear. Deorbit burn is complete. Nominal is always the word we're looking for. And so with that complete, next up is closure of the nose cone, since we won't be using those Draco thrusters anymore.
That's right. That nose cone is what protects those Draco thrusters, as well as that forward hatch, which is the hatch that the crew, of course, used to dock to the space station and get in and out of Dragon while it was docked on station. That side hatch is what they will be using, or the side hatch, which is on the side of Dragon, is what they will be using to get out of the capsule after splashdown, but not that forward hatch, which is what is being covered up now what will be covered up as we step into nose cone closure. And there we
Wow.
can see a live view of that nose cone closing on Dragon Endurance.
So in the Dragon is currently inhibiting those forward bulkhead Draco thrusters that we just used to complete the deorbit burn. Those are inhibited now, I should say, meaning that it was safe to latch the nose cone shut. And the vehicle has initiated the nitrox suit purge. This will help keep Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna cool and comfortable during re-entry, which is coming up in about 20 minutes.
Another view there of that nose cone closing. There's about another minute and 14 seconds remaining in the nose cone close. But yeah, those calls that we hear to the crew and basically communicating status of what's happening or what has completed, that comes from that room that you see there on your screen.
So again, with nose cone closure, we don't have a whole lot of visual changes, like you mentioned, that we will see. And our crew members are already in their suits and in their seats, as we had a preview of earlier. So coming up next will be our anticipated loss of signal around 5:48 p.m. Pacific time. The crew just got an update on that from Core here in Hawthorne before we started the broadcast. So again, when we're in that entry period and plasma is building up around the spacecraft, it makes it hard for us to communicate back and forth. So during that time, we won't have communication with the astronauts or the spacecraft itself. However, again, Dragon is fully autonomous and continues guiding those crew members to our splashdown site in Tampa.
And there's our first view of the Crew-5 crew in Dragon Endurance re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
So this is a view from the recovery ship itself of Crew Dragon re-entering Earth's atmosphere. Of course, we still do not have communication with them because you can see that plasma buildup as they are coming through the atmosphere, that heat shield doing all of the work to ablate that heat as it builds up around the capsule. So again, as we mentioned, you see the movements here. That's the ship camera moving and continuing to track the spacecraft during re-entry. We anticipate reacquisition of signal in just a couple of minutes from now. As Kate mentioned, it can vary on when we get that timing. But great to already have a view of our 4 astronauts, or 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut inside as they are headed home. There will also be a couple of sonic booms during that time frame.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
So as I mentioned, the SpaceX core.
SpaceX Dragon, we have you loud and clear.
We have you the same. Good to have you back. Expect automated chute deployment.
Dragon, copy.
You know, it's incredible to know that the voice we're hearing is coming from that
Wow.
gorgeous ball of light.
And all of the other little points of light you see around it, they appear to be streaking on the camera a little bit. Those are stars. Obviously, that beautiful bright light in the middle, that's Crew Dragon Endurance coming home after 157 days in space. We are standing by for drogue parachute deployment. That'll be in about 2 minutes, but we already do have acquisition of signal. That came, again, a little bit earlier than we expected. So
That's right,
it
it
is
did.
a little hard to target sometimes.
GPS has converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Dragon, copy.
Brace for drogue window.
Dragon, brace.
So like we said, we're getting ready for those drogue parachutes to deploy on Dragon. That occurs automatically when it's about 18,000 feet above the ocean surface. And the capsule is going roughly 350 miles per hour. In that view before, there was a difference in, here we can see, it's no longer quite streaking like it was just moments ago, or minutes ago, I should say. Like I said before, it looks like those drogue deploys are now, yep. We got
Visual on 2 healthy drogues.
Dragon copies.
As you can see with that infrared view, we have 2 healthy drogue parachutes on Dragon. There's a view from Dragon looking up at the drogue chutes.
Those will remain attached to the spacecraft until they help deploy the main parachutes, coming up in just a few moments. Again, these views coming to us from the recovery ship standing by to recover our crew members once they splash down. Looks like we
It looks like we have main parachute deployment there.
Main chute descent rate nominal.
Dragon copies, 1,000 meters.
A beautiful,
Copy, 1,000.
beautiful view there from that recovery vessel of Dragon Endurance with those 4 healthy main parachutes. At this point in time, the capsule's going about 119, or was going about 119 miles per hour when those were deployed, and they also deployed about 6,500 feet. So these main parachutes will help slow the vehicle down even further to about
800 meters.
Copy, 800.
so that we'll hear from the crew about how far they are above the surface of the water. So there we just heard that call out for 800 meters. The capsule is slowing down further and further. By the time that it actually splashes down, it'll only be going about 16 miles per hour.
It's fascinating to think that just minutes ago, really, they were in outer
600 meters.
space
Copy, 600.
and are now just 600 meters above Earth. Again, we are targeting a 9:02 p.m. Eastern Time splashdown, 6:02 p.m. Pacific. So that is the next major milestone for us today, now that we have 4 healthy main parachutes all deployed. Things continue to look good aboard Dragon. Dragon Endurance.
200 meters, crew brace for splashdown.
Copy, 200 and braced.
Commander Nicole Mann giving out that call as we are standing by for splashdown off the coast of Tampa, Florida.
There we can see the water surface. Dragon Endurance coming closer and closer. And as you just saw, splashdown of Crew-5.
157 days in space.
SpaceX Dragon splashdown. Names have been released.
Copy, Dragon. We concur with splashdown and mains released. Dragon Endurance, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
As you can see on your screen, visual confirmation for splashdown.
Thank you, SpaceX. That was on one heck of a ride. We're happy to be home. Looking forward to next time.
SpaceX is back on board with the display camera only.
Dragon copies.
So that's the inside of that capsule we were seeing sitting in the water just off the coast of Tampa. Also on board, we have, oh, and a thumbs up there from Nicole Mann and Josh Cassada. I imagine probably the same from Koichi Wakata and Anna Kikina, but to their right and left as the mission specialists. And a good look again at those crew displays. Dragon, again, a totally autonomous flight home. They are just able to monitor the next steps and await for the spacecraft to be picked up by the recovery vessel. So once those ordnance and hypergol checks are complete, it'll take about 18, a little less than 20 minutes for the rigging to be complete. And around the same time, we expect the recovery ship to arrive. And shortly thereafter, they will begin to lift Dragon onto the nest on the recovery ship. They'll pull it toward a platform.
Dragon, SpaceX, hypergol sweeps and unfired ordnance checks are nominal. Rigging is in progress. Approximately 25 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for PMC with SpaceX flight surgeon.
Dragon space.
Yeah, of course, the motion of the waves creating a lot of that movement. And there we can see that recovery team member jumping off back into the water. So at this point in time, that's a great sign. We should hear a call out soon, or perhaps just see it first, of the capsule being lifted out of the water. Again, this will happen quite quickly.
Dragon, brace for capsule lift.
Dragon.
And as the capsule is being lifted, there's our first view of that heat shield. Once again, that was the primary decelerator for the Dragon capsule. That's really what helped slow the vehicle down to about 350 miles per hour from 17,500, of course, during that re-entry burn that we saw.
Certainly did its job.
Yeah.
Bringing them to that gentle splashdown with the help of those parachutes, about 16 miles per hour. So they have obviously lifted Dragon. They are placing it in that nest. They'll secure it there and remove some of those attachment points before moving it toward the egress platform.
Now we can see some waters held in what looks like a kind of like a bucketed area there underneath the side hatch. That is the location of where the main parachutes are stored. So all 4 of those main parachutes are tightly packed and placed in that cubby, basically, and we can see water draining from it now. The location of the drogue parachutes is up near where that harness is secured above the side hatch there at the top.
Dragon, stand by for side hatch opening in approximately the next 60 seconds.
I'm looking at Rick right now.
So we can see that those, and there it is, side hatch open on Dragon Endurance.
First time since it was closed last October, sending these 4 crew members on their journey to the International Space Station. And in that view on the right, you can see that SpaceX medical doctor getting that first check, making sure everyone is feeling all right back here on planet Earth before we begin helping those crew members out of the capsule.
On the left-hand side of the screen, we can see the recovery team members placing a protective frame around the interior of the hatch. As I mentioned before, of course, we reuse our Dragon capsules, and so really to preserve the integrity of that hatch, which of course is important, we put some protective framing around there to help make sure that there is no damage incurred to the side hatch as the crew members are exiting or egressing from the capsule.
And it looks like our egress is beginning with NASA astronaut Josh Cassada, pilot of Dragon Endurance on Crew-5. His first space flight coming home with 157 days. Commander of Crew-5, Nicole Mann, also became the first Native American woman to live on the International Space Station. So a real moment of pride there, I'm sure. And you can see her being helped to those medical quarters. Again, all nominal, all pre-planned checks. Just an opportunity to make sure the crew is feeling good before they take that helicopter ride back to shore. So now our NASA astronauts are out of the spacecraft. We are awaiting egress of Roscosmos Anna Kikina, her first space flight, and as we mentioned, seasoned veteran Koichi Wakata of the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. And this looks like it may be Anna.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, that slide, we have a great view of that slide now. Really helps the crew in this egress procedure.
Oh, this is probably Koichi, judging by, I can see that Japanese flag on that team member right there on the right.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it looked like, yeah, that looks like Koichi. It looks like they were pulling from seat 1, so yeah, that would have been Koichi's.
Oh, I can see a
Look at
smile on
that
his
smile.
face. Definitely not his first rodeo.
So it looks like Anna Kikina, our cosmonaut on board Crew-5, is about to make her way down the fun slide and egress Dragon Endurance, which once again it made its second splashdown.
Roscosmos cosmonaut Anna Kikina, our final crew member to egress tonight. Again, her first space flight. She will also have those same medical checks before flying back to Russia.
Look at that smile as well.
And that is all 4 of our crew members. Now that Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna are safely back home on Earth and getting checked out by the medical teams, we're going to wrap up our live coverage of their return. Again, this all kicked off on October 5th, 2022, October 5 for Crew-5, from historic launch pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After successful liftoff and separation from Falcon 9, Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna made a 28-hour flight on board Dragon 2, the International Space Station. Since arriving at the space station, they spent nearly 6 months as members of Expeditions 67 and 68, executing science experiments, spacewalks, and repairs while aboard the orbiting laboratory.
Their journey home began about 19 hours ago on March 10th when they closed the forward hatch to the Dragon capsule and undocked from the International Space Station at 11:20 p.m. Pacific time. After 4 successful departure burns and a phasing burn to line up their orbit, Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna rested for a few hours before waking up and to prepare for their re-entry. We jettisoned Dragon's trunk and performed our final on-orbit maneuver, the deorbit burn, at 5:11 p.m. Pacific time to send the Dragon on its path home. The spacecraft re-entered Earth's atmosphere and slowed its descent with successful deployments of 2 drogue parachutes and 4 healthy mains, with the final splashdown occurring off the coast of Florida at 6:02 p.m. Pacific time. Following that successful splashdown, we saw SpaceX recovery experts move in and prepare Dragon Endurance for its lift onto the recovery vessel. And just a little less than an hour ago, 58 minutes to be exact.
Wow.
Following splashdown, we saw Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna make their way out of the Dragon capsule and into the recovery ship's medical facilities, safe and sound.
So next up, they will catch that helicopter flight back to shore. They will transfer to aircraft that will take them home. Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna will take a NASA plane for the short flight to Houston, and later Anna will fly back to Russia. They will be reunited with families to bring an end to this mission. Of course, as always, it's been an honor and a privilege to share their journey with all of you as we continue this new era in human spaceflight.
The return today marks the end of a direct handover that we just executed after successfully launching the Crew-6 mission to the space station just a little over a week ago. Actually, about a week ago. It has been an incredible honor and joy to share this mission with the public. All the teams from SpaceX and NASA continue to work hard to keep America leading the world in human spaceflight. Continue to follow SpaceX and NASA online and on social media for updates for the very latest on crew and cargo flights to and from the International Space Station.
And we will continue to share the progress of Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna on social media as they travel back home. We also have a post-splashdown media telecon coming up at approximately 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, where leadership from NASA, JAXA, and SpaceX will share updates as we conclude this successful mission. So we say thanks one more time for tuning in and cheering on Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna as they made their return back to Earth. So from all of us at NASA and SpaceX, welcome home, Crew-5, and we'll see you next time.